my exotic family? Welcome back to another video on my channel. So today's video is actually going to be talking about the pros and the cons of owning snakes. But before we get started, we're going to do this video a little bit different. So in this video, as you can see in the title, I'm only listing the cons. Reason being is me and a fellow Instagrammer, YouTuber, decided to collaborate on this particular topic. Some of you may know her from Instagram, some of you may not know her at all. Either way, her name is Meidusa. I'll put all her information in the bio or in the description of this video. However, Meidusa is a very popular Instagrammer, up-and-coming YouTuber like myself, and very good friend of mine, so we decided to actually collab on this topic. So I'm going to focus on the cons, she'll focus on the pros, and I'll drop the link to her video in the description of this one so you can check out both. But nonetheless, today we're going to be talking about the cons of owning snakes. Now, this video is not to scare anybody. This video is not to get people not to have snakes. The 10 facts that I'm actually going to list are based on, things that I've gone through myself from owning my own snakes and, reptiles in general. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, so number one, the first one I'm going to go over is you can't have just one. I mean, most of the people that I know, at least, that get into the hobby, it starts off with one, and then maybe even 2-3 years down the line, maybe even 2-3 weeks down the line, they get another one, or another 2, or another 3. A lot of people joke about it, but me personally, I personally think it does get addicting after a while, because you see more snakes that you want. You see these cool colors and these cool morphs, and it just makes you want to just have a entire reptile room, like someone I know. But it just makes you want to get more and more reptiles. So it definitely is hard to have just one snake. So number 2 is going to be size. And by size, I mean size of the enclosure and size of the snake. Most of the snakes, not all snakes, get big. There are some that stay pretty small. But even some of your smaller snakes do require a decent setup. Ball pythons, they're huge snakes. However, they still do require a decent setup. I mean, if we're talking maybe garter snakes and everything like that, you can get away with, like a somewhat smaller enclosure, I guess. However, there are a lot of people that are, really heavy into the pythons, the boas, things of that nature, even the retics, the berms, the surinams, everything of that nature. Most of those snakes get 8 to 10 plus feet. So obviously you can't keep them in a rack or a 10-gallon because they just get entirely too big. So the con for that is space. A lot of people just don't have the space for that particular animal, and I think that is kind of what results in animals having to be rehomed sometimes. You get a lot of people that get animals and they don't know exactly how big it's going to get, or they get an animal and the person they got it from tells them it's one thing and it doesn't get this big, and it ends up getting entirely bigger than they expected. So definitely a big con is going to be size. I mean, you see a lot of snakes sold in pet stores, and you'll see like a little information tag and like, oh, this is a red tail boa. Really, it's a Colombian or Central American boa. Oh, it's only going to get 5 feet, and that's not the case. So yeah, size is definitely a big factor. It's really a big reason why some people don't get snakes, to be honest. They don't have the room, the time, or the space. So con number 3. Anybody that has a snake, I'm sure, has experienced this, and that is snakes are escape artists. Man, that's probably, as a reptile keeper, the worst feeling is a loose snake, or loose reptile in general. Snakes will get out any opportunity they get. A snake is getting out of their enclosure. So the worst thing you can do, obviously, next to leaving, an enclosure door open or not locked, the worst thing you can do is putting a snake in an enclosure that's not properly secured. Got to make sure snakes are properly secure. Otherwise, like I said, they'll get out, and good luck, because you'll be looking for them for who knows how long. You don't want to put a 6-foot snake in a tank and then just think that you can put a lid on it and put stuff on top of it. That doesn't always work. Doesn't work at all, and that's another improper setup. A 6-foot snake doesn't belong in a tank. But not to stray away from the topic, snakes are escape artists, so that is definitely a big con. Even for responsible keepers, I mean, every now and then you have a slip up. Unfortunately, it comes with the territory, and you have multiple snakes. You get in your routine, you do everything naturally, and just that one time you forget to close this door all the way, or you forget to push this tub in all the way, or you forget to secure the lock because you're just in your routine and you're doing a bunch of different things. So that's definitely something that I've personally experienced. So con number 4. As you all know, snakes and dogs are 2 different animals, obviously. The reason I say that is because not everyone likes snakes. Everyone loves dogs, loves puppies. Not everyone likes snakes. So that's kind of one of those things where a lot of people are just like disgusted with snakes. They just think they're gross and aggressive and mean. I mean, of course, these people that usually think this have no type of clue what they're talking about and have done 0 research, and they don't know anything about snakes. So unfortunately, that's the type of ignorance you deal with in the reptile community, is people thinking they know and they don't, or they read a quick little story on Facebook or whatever, or anything of that nature. Especially the fact that snakes are heavily associated with religion, whatever. The two don't even coincide, but it's there. So that definitely, unfortunately, that ignorance does exist out there in the world. Con number 5. They eat rodents. A lot of people don't like the fact that you can't feed snakes a salad. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, I've literally had people ask me, well, can you feed your snake a salad, or is there a supplemental? No, there is not. It's natural behavior. This is what the snake eats. What kills me is people are so against snakes eating rats and mice, yet people, they still eat chicken, they still eat beef, or whatever, and then they'll argue, well, it's not alive on my plate. Well, my snakes don't eat live either, so we're even. My snakes eat frozen thighs, so technically it's not alive. But going with, the last con is just pure ignorance. They don't fully understand, and that's fine. I'm not explaining anything to someone that doesn't want to understand. And, you shouldn't either. You shouldn't have to. Snakes are snakes. They are predators. That's what they do. So naturally, yes, they eat rodents. People don't like it. Even, there's even some people that have snakes that don't like to feed their snakes rodents, and that is purely understandable. I mean, you have to deal with, just rodents in general. I mean, some people like them as pets. Me personally, I don't. So for those of you that are rodent, fans, I apologize, but rodents are disgusting. But whatever. I mean, some people feel like we shouldn't be feeding snakes, these rodents, although that's what they naturally would eat, but whatever. Con number 7. It's not for all snakes. However, it does happen very often, and that is snakes can be very picky eaters. Now that can be due to a lot of reasons. Stressed, incorrect husbandry, which can also lead to stress. If there's some type of sickness or just anything of that nature, or even with ball pythons, some of the ball pythons, depending on the weather or if it's breeding season or for whatever it may be, those guys are known to go on a feeding strike. it's generally pretty easy to get them out of it. However, there are some snakes out there that they will not eat. They'll be very picky. You know, some certain snakes will only eat this, has to be this. You know, your snakes out there that only want live. Your snakes out there that only want to eat chicks, or they have to be scented, and just like it's a hassle to get some of these snakes to eat, because it's like, man, like my snake Kato, my blood python, the only way he will eat is if I lay the rat in front of him, turn off all of his lights, and leave the room. Kato has yet to eat in front of me. The videos that I've used in like past videos or anything like that are on Instagram, I wasn't in the room. I left my phone on record while he did his thing, and nonetheless, he will not eat in front of me. Kato is my blood python. He's pushing about 3 foot, and you would think as big as he is, when there's food in there, he would attack it. He wants privacy. So that is definitely a big con. I mean, who doesn't like to see their snake eat? It kind of gives you, makes you feel good a little bit, because you get to see them eat. They get that nice little bulge in their belly, then they want to go coil up under the heat to digest the food. But me, I usually leave it in there. Like I said, I do frozen thaws, so I just lay it in there for him. He'll eat it. By the time I come back in the room, he's already gone, huddled up, and he's done. I don't see him the rest of the day. So, snakes definitely can be picky eaters. That's probably one of the biggest cons on this list. Alrighty, so next, it's kind of a debate, I guess, but I'm going to go out here on a limb and say snakes aren't very affectionate. That this is the next con. Snakes are not, they're not social animals, so they're not very affectionate. They're not like a dog or a cat that'll come greet you, when you walk in, or want you to pet them or do. No, they don't care. They don't really get anything out of being handled. They'll tolerate it because they're used to you, and everything is good. But snakes are not affectionate beings, which brings me to my next con, which is snakes are moody. Especially just in general. I mean, reptiles in general can be very moody, but particularly snakes, especially when you get into some of your bigger ones. I mean, a lot of them can be somewhat temperamental, and it's not necessarily that they're aggressive or anything like that. We all know I don't believe in the term aggressive. However, just like us, they have their days when they just want to be left alone. So I mean, you kind of got to respect it. The more you tamper or mess with that particular snake, it's just going to piss them off even more, and you get bit. So to prevent that, you just kind of got to, recognize it and just let them be. But snakes are moody. They're moody. They don't like to be bothered all the time. They don't want to be woken up. If you just fed them, just kind of let them be. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to do these things necessary to keep the animal healthy. If you got to pull them out to soak them so you can clean the enclosure or anything of that nature, it has to be done. But all in all, snakes being moody is definitely accurate. Alright, so con number 9. They're cold-blooded. That for a lot of people is a deal breaker. They worry about electric bills going up, or they worry about leaving heat lamps and heat sources running when they're not home. Because cold-blooded, they can't produce their own body heat, so they rely on an external heat source, and a lot of people are not okay with that, which is perfectly understandable. But that is just one of the cons of keeping reptiles in general. They do need that heat source. 99.9% of reptiles definitely need that heat source. Just putting them in a room and turning the heat on, I guess, but it's not really the proper way to do it, and you're gonna have one hell of a gas bill. So them being cold-blooded, as you can see, I got all types of, I got a heat tape, I got heat lamps everywhere in this room. It does get expensive. That's the best way I can put it. It gets expensive. And finally, con number 10. Um, Finding a veterinarian that specializes in reptiles. Unfortunately, like I said, since reptiles aren't widely liked by, you know, a pretty decent chunk of the population in the world, although that is changing. I mean, nowadays you have a lot more people that are okay with reptiles than before. Even still now, it is still extremely hard for people to find a herpetologist or someone that specializes in the reptilian aspect of in the veterinary world. That can definitely be an issue. You know, you get the snake, figure out the snake is sick, and you want to take it to a vet. A lot of people I know, they have to like travel into different counties or cities or anything, or they have to have someone come to them, and it costs an arm and a leg on top of what you have to pay for, you know, for the animal. So unfortunately, it's a huge hassle, but it definitely does happen. Anyways, yeah, that's 10 cons for owning snakes. I hope you did enjoy this video. I appreciate you watching. Like I said, don't forget to click down on the links below to check out Meidusa. She's going to be covering the pros of owning snakes. Unfortunately, I had to be the bad guy and do the cons, make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment, let me know what you think about this video. Make sure you subscribe, and as always, stay exotic.